What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Week 10 Sunday Showdown show here on Rotogrinders. I am Britt, here with Keith. Keith, I was not on last week. Mr. Blender, he filled in for me. How'd that go last week? I need some points scored in this Arizona game for one of my big bets I got going right now. Yeah, it's been a real fun game. I got red zone here. I'm producing the show myself. A lot of fun stuff going on behind the scenes. But we got, Keith. I told you this game tonight between the Patriots and the Ravens. It's one of the. I guess it's every week. It's a strange showdown game. It always seems like we have some weird oddity. I was looking at the blitz projections today, and normally, there's always a couple high projected players. Outside of the quarterbacks, there's nobody projected over 10 fantasy points tonight. We have 6 running backs who are all in play. You have like 10 to 15 different receivers that can get touchdowns. We've got cold, we've got wind, we've got rain, we got the injury reports, so we know who's in and out here. Just a really, really strange game, in my opinion, tonight. Mm-hmm. So they can't hear you. We'll be right back, guys, in just a minute or two. I'm going to reset a couple of things. All right, guys. I think we're back up here live. Everybody good? Let me know in the YouTubes if you guys can hear me. Looks like Keith should be good. Keith, say something to the people.
Hey, people. Can you hear me?
Yeah, looks like we're good. Let me just, I guess I'll check on my end on the videos page. Let's see. Where can I go do this? Because it'll take the chat a couple of minutes to catch back up to us. Guys, I think we're back. All right, we're back live here, so should be looking good. Chat, we're back rolling on here. So let's jump back into what's happening tonight, and we'll start on DraftKings. Again, guys, if you ever want to check out the premium stuff like the expert survey, I'll bring up some tidbits from that. If you ever want to check out the Slate IQ, if you're watching for free on Rotogrinders, you're watching for free on YouTube. If you've never subscribed before, we are offering a $5 discount. It's rotogrinders.com/media/SNF for Sunday Night Football. So instead of $39.99, it'll be $34.99 for your first month of Rotogrinders. If you ever want to get access to any of the cool stuff behind the paywall here. But let's jump right into this, and I guess let's talk captain exposure on DraftKings today, because outside of the 2 quarterbacks, and I think Lamar Jackson really, really looks like probably the best captain spot. One, he hasn't been very accurate passing the ball, and 2, when he does, it goes to Willie Snead, it goes to Devin Duvernay, Mark Andrews might catch some, Nick Boyle's back there. You've got 3 different running backs that can get involved. I just really like Lamar Jackson and the captain tonight, even in tournaments. If I pull up Slate IQ is telling me I'm a complete ding dong for wanting to roster Lamar Jackson or Cam Newton in the captain, basically whichever quarterback wins. But Slate IQ be damn, I'm going to be playing a lot of Lamar Jackson in the captain tonight.
Yeah, I mean, when we're showing projections over like double the rest of the field, so I think it's almost a must-have. Like I said, it's not something I generally like to do, but when they offer extra rushing upside, that's the way that they can really get there. So yeah, I think Lamar's the top captain for sure.
Yeah, what's your stance on Cam Newton in the captain tonight? It's really tough. On offense, the Ravens I think they can basically do whatever they want, because the Patriots, they're still without Stephon Gilmore. They do get a couple defensive players back that have been missing, but Gilmore's the main piece. What do you think about Cam? Because I just think Baltimore should be able to do whatever they want in this game. It's sloppy. It really fits what they want to do. I guess New England can probably try to run the ball too, but the Ravens actually have a good run defense. How are you handling Cam Newton in the captain tonight?
Yeah, he's going to be one of my 3 highest owned captains
Mm-hmm.
too. Um, they spread the ball out too much. Which receiver is going to go for 150 and two? I mean, they just don't have a guy that can do that. So I'm going to hope Cam can throw for a couple and run one in. And I mean, he's again the second highest projected on the slate by a good margin for us.
Yeah, I think I really like Lamar Jackson in here. Let's go. I guess let's go position by position because it's just a real oddity. Normally we have maybe 3 running backs we're really looking at, and maybe a Hail Mary fourth. Today we got 6, and they're all in play in some way, shape, or another. On the expert survey, a lot of the guys talked about certain rules they would make with running backs. What's your actual strategy for that? How many running backs is too many per team, per lineup? And then maybe dissect some game scripts in which you'd want to use certain running backs in specific lineups.
Yeah, so the price is going to factor into my decision making here quite a bit. I'm only playing Damian Harris as a captain. I'm basically looking at it as at his price tag of 8.8K. He needs to score twice, and if he does that, I probably want him in the captain. Um, Outside of that, I'm probably not even going to play him in the flex at all. So that the game script for Damian Harris would be New England gets the lead and they just pound the ball on the ground all game, and he's the one that ends up with the 2 touchdowns. I will make a rule that does not that will I will have 0 lineups with him and Burkhead together,
Mm-hmm.
just because I think they completely sap each other's touchdown equity. I don't mind playing White with either Harris or Burkhead, just because of the reception floor. I think that Burkhead and White can both get there just on receptions alone. But the rule I'll make is Harris and Burkhead cannot be in the same lineup.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that one. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then on the Baltimore side, we got Mark Ingram back, and basically to start the season, all 3 of the Ravens running backs, I guess more on the full slates, were almost unusable. Usable. You can see here, Mark Ingram, 10 rushing attempts, 9 rushing attempts in the first 2 weeks. J.K. Dobbins, 7 and 2. Now he's a little bit more involved. Maybe the 7 to 10 is probably a little bit more of what I'd expect out of him tonight. And then you got Gus Bus, coming in. No receptions. Maybe if he gets 1, you're feeling pretty lucky. But he's just sort of the hammer. Maybe he's in there to close out the game late, just slamming into the line for 3 or 4 yards per carry or something like that. How are you handling them? Is there any specific Baltimore running backs you won't play together? Just with Ingram back in there, I guess the New England backfield, we know how that's going to play out, I guess, in theory. Like you said, Harris is in there, going to get the rushes. Burkhead's the multi-roll. White's the pass down roll. I think we have J.K. Dobbins in the pass work role, but there's a lot less pass work role in the Baltimore backfield than the New England backfield. And now it's mucked up with Mark Ingram. It's just a mess. What do you got for the people?
yeah, it's tough. The one thing that does help is Edwards is cheap. So I'm not restricting him in any manner,
Mm-hmm.
because if he falls in the end zone, you're going to want him. I won't play Dobbins and Ingram together. Same deal as Harris and Burkhead. They're both up there in price. You probably want 2 touchdowns from each in order for them to be optimal. So I will have a rule that says no Dobbins and Ingram together.
I do want to note, too, guys, the inactives, in case you just joined, I want to go over the weather and the inactives real quick. So the weather, it's wet already there. It's going to really get wet and nasty as the game progresses, maybe in the second half. That's what Roth had. I checked the weather before, and that sort of stands with what I have. So as the game progresses, the weather's going to continue to get worse. The field's going to be sloppy. The ball's going to be more slippery. Whatever you want to say, maybe it turns more into a running game in that second half, something like that. And then the inactives, we've got N'Keal Harry is back. Now, I don't think N'Keal Harry's that great, but he was getting some targets earlier in the season. He wasn't doing much with them. So maybe that eats into Myers just a little bit. We've got Isaiah Ford. He's active. He was like a new acquisition for the Patriots. He's just 1K on DraftKings. You still have Damiere Byrd out there. So those are basically, and we have the kicker for the Patriots. He's in too. There was some question on whether or not you could use him. We'll talk some Justin Tucker. I hate kickers, but I think Justin Tucker is almost like a must play tonight, in my opinion.
Yep.
So what are we doing? I guess let's move to the wide receiver position. and try to make some sense. I want to start on the Patriots side because that's where we got Harry back. We've got Isaiah Ford back in here. What are we sort of expecting Jacoby Myers, who's been Julian Edelman-esque over the past couple of games? Is that going to take a step back, or is this now the Patriots' way? Is this what they're going to do with Jacoby Myers?
Yeah, so I have a much better handle on the running back situation than I do on the wide receivers. Um, so Myers has basically taken over Harry's role. Harry was getting all the low A dot short stuff, and now that's what Myers has really excelled in the last couple of weeks. So is he the guy, or is Harry going to step back into that role? It's really muddled with Harry and also Ford. That's kind of the role he had in Miami. So it's a really tough call on the New England wide receivers.
Are you playing a lot of Myers? His price is pretty expensive, right? He's up there neck and neck with Marquise Brown, and I mean, what has Marquise Brown done? I guess you can say too. To either one warrant that high price tag in your opinion? Someone has to be high priced. I mean, just to make the slate competitive in terms of pricing a little bit. So I understand it. Which one of those two receivers you got more tonight?
I'm going to play the cheap guys, and that's just because I'm just going to embrace the uncertainty. I'm going to play a ton of Cam and a ton of Lamar, so I'm going to need to save some funds somewhere. I'm just going to hope that Myers kind of takes a back seat with Harry back, and Ford can kind of get involved a little bit. I'd much rather play Burkhead or somebody like that than pay up for Myers.
And then on the Ravens side, you've got Marquise Brown. If I pull up Gridiron IQ, we'll pull this. It's all color coded. This is all premium. Again, if you're not a premium member, you've never had it before, you want to save a couple of bucks, rotogrinders.com/media/SNF will get you $5 off your first month of Rotogrinders Premium. But if I go to the Baltimore side, let's dissect what's happened here over the past couple of weeks. Marquise Brown he's their alpha, close to every snap wide receiver. We've seen Miles Boykin on the season play over 50%, but his routes, his target share, his snaps, he's ceding those away to players like Willie Snead and Devin Duvernay specifically. I think really for Boykin, if you get 2 targets and he catches 1 for a touchdown, that's really the only way I think he ends up being on a winning lineup tonight. He's someone I don't have any exposure to at all. I've shifted, I do have some Willie Snead. He's in there. It's working between him and Lamar Jackson. It's like the only thing working in the passing game is passes to Willie Snead. I don't know why, but that's what's happening. And then Duvernay snaps are starting to increase a little bit. If that continues, maybe he can hit 50% of the snaps this week. So I don't have any Boykin. Just out of necessity, you have to use Marquise Brown in some lineups, specifically when you're using Lamar Jackson and the captain a lot. So I do have some of him. And then I think I would prefer Snead, Duvernay, and Boykin would be my rankings out there.
Yeah, I do like Brown. Gilmore is still out. I believe he's inactive. He's not going to play this game. And we talked about upside. There isn't a lot of it outside of the quarterbacks. So Brown is the one guy that can get deep. Now, we mentioned the weather, and that does concern me a little bit, but it's right on the line kind of where I really consider the weather.
Mm-hmm.
The 15-mile-an-hour winds is still slightly below the throreshold of
it's not stopping Ben Roethlisberger today, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to have some Marquise Brown for sure.
What about the tight end situation between Mark Andrews and he's been a pretty big disappointment. He's had a couple of big games, but outside, complete boom bust player. You're getting the 80 yards and a touchdown on 5 or 6 receptions, or you're getting close to a goose egg for a really high priced player tonight. You do have to mix him in. Probably I'm really paying for probably 1 premium target with my quarterback captain lineups, right? I don't think Brown and Andrews there's not enough juice from Lamar Jackson, I guess, to get there with both of them. So I'm picking one. I think I prefer Marquise Brown, but I do have some Mark Andrews as well.
Yeah, I really like what you said there. I think that's a good spot to limit one on Brown and Andrews. Mm-hmm. Both price tags elevated, and with Lamar's struggles, there isn't going to be enough output for both of them to get there. I'm with you. I'm leaning towards the Marquise Brown a little bit.
And then the Patriots tight end position, these guys don't exist to me, correct?
Yeah, disregard.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're gonna disregard that. So that's sort of a position overview of tonight's game. I see we do have a lot of you guys watching, both on YouTube and on Rotogrinders. This is an interactive show on Sunday nights. All right, if you've got questions, whether it's something you want to bet on a prop, whether it's this, whether it's that, whatever you want to do or whatever you want to come up with, talk to me in the YouTube chat, and we are more than happy to oblige. Giving you feedback on just about anything, whether it's Showdown. I can pull up the DK Sportsbook, whatever you guys want to chat in there. So feel free to hit us up in there, and we'll have some fun. I think my chat may have frozen. I'm gonna have to figure out how to refresh this because I'm sure everyone's gonna be bumping in there in just a second. What are a couple of your takeaways from the expert survey? You did quite a bit of this. The one thing I guess I want to note is all four of you were on the under tonight, and I don't really see a lot of times it's 2-2. Everyone's on the under tonight. So how are you playing that in your lineups in terms of you think it's going to be the under? I'm assuming the majority of your lineups probably look like a sloppy, mud, wet running back type of game here. What do those end up looking like?
Yeah, definitely leaning to the rushing attack on both teams. A lot of showdowns, I won't even play opposing running backs against each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have lineups with 3 running backs in
Yeah.
there for this one. I mean, it's just weird. I think the weather's factoring into that, and the struggles of both quarterbacks is factoring into that. Plus, the way that these teams use their backfields, there's both 3 running backs in each backfield. So
Mm-hmm.
there's just more volume, or it's more spread out. And that's why you're not seeing anybody else projected above 10 points for us.
A couple questions have started to come through here, and this is a pretty. Someone wants to know Tucker captain. I don't know if I'd go that crazy, but I don't think there's a better way to spend $3,800 on DraftKings tonight than Justin Tucker. I know it's wet and windy, but he's the best kicker in football and has been for many, many years. And I don't think I have the stones to play him in the captain. But he like as a flex, we have him at 25%. I think that's low. I have no problem doubling that and playing. Basically, I don't know if I'd play him in every lineup, but I'm definitely overweight on Justin Tucker tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too in the flex. And I agree. I wouldn't play him in the captain. The idea of playing a cheap captain would be you want to pay up to get other studs in, but there aren't really any other studs that you want to pay for. I mean, we talked about how it's unlikely that Andrews and Brown get there tonight. So I don't want both of them in the same lineup anyway. So that's the only reason I would do it, and I don't see that path tonight.
Yeah, and I think Tucker could outscore the Ravens defense pretty straight up a lot of the time in this particular game. So I would prefer that at the lower price without question. Another one is from Riley Miller. He wants to know on the Ravens defense. We don't talk a lot about kickers and defense. They're sort of like the ancillary pieces, but tonight they make a lot of sense with a lot of stuff going on. How are you mixing in defenses to the lineups?
I'll probably play them about even with the field. The weather helps turnovers, the lack of upside from other positions, but I don't have a strong take on I'm jamming this defense in over another.
Mm-hmm. And the Ravens do have 4 double-digit performances this year, which is pretty good for a defense out there. They can get some sacks, fumbles. If the ball gets sloppy, you've got N'Keal Harry coming back. Off of injury. Imagine he gets, he hasn't been around the team in a while. Hasn't been catching from Cam Newton in a while. You've got him. You've got the new guy in Isaiah Ford. Maybe they're just out of sync a little bit. Maybe an easy interception. Cam Newton can always kind of go off the rails and do whatever he wants and throw 2 or 3 interceptions and fumble. So I do like the defense quite a bit. Probably with the field, I prefer Tucker. I could just see the sloppy offense leading to Tucker getting 4 or 5 field goal attempts tonight. So I do like Tucker quite a bit. But yes, you can definitely play the Ravens defense. Wig wants to know, which player do you think Belichick tries to take away? Here's my hot take. I don't think Belichick's trying to do anything. I think he's trying to lose games. So I don't really know if he's trying to really do anything. You can't take away Lamar Jackson. I think that's pretty tough to do. And he's still, there was some talk about Lamar Jackson was still, what's happening here? What do we got? A tie game now? I'm trying. Oh no, Bill's up 30-26 is what I got going on. think I bet 55.5, so that should be good on that one. I got it early.
Nice.
Yeah, like what is Belichick? I'm not worried about Lamar Jackson passing the ball. If I'm doing anything, I'm trying to stop the running game in this mud, wet weather game, and I know that's what the Ravens like to do. I'm trying to stop the running game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if they're asking if they're going to take away Brown or Andrews, I don't know that I'm concerned about that at all. I agree they're going to be totally focused on stopping the run.
And high five, Keith. Diggs touchdown. Boom.
Beautiful.
we're good. We're good. We needed that one. All right. So let's see if any of you guys have any more questions. We'll get to FanDuel. For you guys playing FanDuel, we'll move over there in just a couple of minutes. Mike wants to know Bird or Myers. Now, it's a big price discrepancy right there on DraftKings tonight. I still think Myers has shown, I don't think they're going to take his role away. He's shown he can handle the volume. He's in that Julian Edelman, Bill Belichick role that's been in that offense for a long time. He looks good on the field, too. He looks like he belongs on an NFL field. I don't see N'Keal Harry, who hasn't shown anything in the 2 years that he's been in the league, or Isaiah Ford coming in is going to take anything away from Myers. So I still think Myers can compete. Just realize, right? Sloppy game tonight. But those little short passes to him do make some sense. If I have the money, I'm going to play Myers for sure. But Bird's got the connection, too, from Carolina going on with it there, too. He's been playing well. Maybe the deep ball, that's all you need is one or two of those from Cam Newton. I think that's pretty unlikely that it gets there. But I'd play Myers for sure. But Bird, of course, is much cheaper. What's your take?
Yeah, I'm more on the running backs for sure than any of them. I think I'm leaning towards Harry, to be honest, just because he's the cheapest of the three.
Mm-hmm.
And Myers is too expensive. I think Myers probably catches the most passes, but his price tag is elevated enough that he needs to score in order to pay it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to hope that Harry gets there on receptions alone, and play two running backs.
Mike Bumps, he wants to know, can you jam 6 running backs in on DraftKings today? I don't know. Maybe.
I might try it.
I don't think I'd doing that. What's the max amount of running backs you'd play? I think that was I don't know if that was a survey question today, but I think I'd play, I wouldn't play more than 3 running backs in a specific lineup today. And I agree with what you said earlier. If some of you guys just joined, Keith basically said, and he has this in the expert survey, not to play Burkhead and Damian Harris in the same lineup. I agree completely with that.
Yep, and I would include Ingram and Dobbins in that too. I mean, if they both get 12 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown, are they 2 players in the optimal? I'm not sure that they are. So I'm going to hope that one of them scores twice and he's the optimal running back and fade the other. I don't have a strong take. I mean, I'd lean Dobbins if I had to pick, but I don't necessarily have, and I don't need to. I'm going to run them in my multi-entry enough and where they're separated that if one of them scores 2, I'm going to have the right line.
I hate a night like tonight because I feel obligated, like I have to play more lineups than I want to, because there's just so many iterations of the running backs that you really need to churn through. So it kind of sucks because even if you get the total game script right, that the running backs are going to dominate, you still can just completely come out on the total wrong end of the running backs, which doesn't really happen in most games. So it's a really interesting thing on that. I sort of get angry when I have to put in more entries on those type of nights just to cover a couple extra bases.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying, and then you rotate the running backs through, and it's somebody like Miles Boykin goes out and catches 2 touchdowns.
Oh my! That's not going to happen. I can tell you that's not going to happen tonight.
Right.
Boykin's on the outs. Coco wants to know, Izzo, 3 targets last week, 800. I don't think so. If Harry and Ford and those guys weren't available, I could see maybe. I don't know. I don't see it for Izzo tonight.
Yeah, I agree.
I have no tight end exposure on the Patriots side.
Me either.
All right, we're gonna jump over to FanDuel. If you guys still want to talk captains or DraftKings, or if you want to get some bets in, whatever you guys want, throw it into the YouTube chat or live on Rotogrinders, and we will try to get it for you. Let's jump over to FanDuel, and FanDuel's just, if you play Cam and Lamar, The problem I was running into is your lineups just look like everybody else, and everyone's going to do the same thing tonight. It is extremely hard, I feel like, to get differentiation when you use those, especially if you use Lamar Jackson at the MVP spot tonight. How the heck do you do something different over there? I can't figure it out here tonight.
I just ran 150 optimals with the Blitz's projections. It's 100%, 150 lineups with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I would have. I mean, that's. I would
if you play Lamar, you're going to be duped for sure.
Yeah, like you can't, because you have to play like Cam, and then you just start running out of money on FanDuel, and you just play the same crappy players everyone else is going to be playing.
Yep.
This is what I've ran into.
Yeah, I guess you have to try to take a stab on a running back and hope he scores 2 or 3 touchdowns. I mean, that might be the best path to get there without the quarterback and the captain or MVP over there.
Oh man, Justin just said Hopkins got a touchdown. That would be
Arizona just won.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. I love it. Over, hit the over.
Yes,
I'm going. All my favorites, and then the over in that game was the one. That's it's going to be a good day at the book tomorrow when I go to cash out. So
good deal.
Oh my goodness, you got to see this play.
I'm looking at her.
Oh my goodness, how does that happen? That's insane. That's why you trade David Johnson for DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. Oh, Bill O'Brien, what are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? That's a great win for Arizona. I got to say too, I
just saw the Kyler end of that. What a throw!
I have lost so much money trying to either bet for or against Arizona that I've just take overs in all the games. This is what I've gone to because it always happens. Wow, what a catch! Like a Hail Mary and triple coverage, and Hopkins skies over everybody. Great play by him there. So what are we doing on FanDuel? You got any specific plays over there you're eyeing at a particular price point that make your lineups look good?
Let's see here. Damian Harris is priced above everybody else over there, so I'd probably try to get it done on the Ravens side with the running back.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if I'm going to take a wild stab in the MVP, it's going to be Dobbins or Ingram for me. As far as value plays,
I can't believe that Lamar Jackson's priced less than Cam Newton. Like, what's happening on FanDuel? What do you think of Tucker or even Folk? I think Folk. We didn't even talk about Folk. I think he's reasonably. I don't think the Patriots will score a bunch of touchdowns, but I could see him kicking 4 field goals tonight.
Yeah. As far as value plays, I mean, I think they're 2 of the best that you have here.
Mm-hmm.
If you play him in the MVP, you need basically no touchdowns in the game. So, I mean, I suppose it's possible, and if you want to get unique, that might be something that you have to do. But
Greedy, he wants to know if you were going single entry on FanDuel, who's your MVP? Do you just try to play Cam Newton instead because 85% of the field's going to have Lamar Jackson at the captain? I don't know. I think I'd probably still play Lamar Jackson, the captain.
Yeah, it depends if you want to just the best chance to cash, or if you want to try to win whatever the top prize is. Mm-hmm. If you want to try to win the top prize and not split it with hundreds of people, then I don't think that you can play a quarterback in MVP.
Roberto, he's in here. He wanted to know the over 44. I don't really have a take on that one. It was 43.5. All 4 of the experts that wrote it up in our expert survey today, including Keith, they all had the under on this one. I don't really have a lean on it. I think that's about the right line in my opinion. It's not the crazy weather like we saw in Cleveland today. It's right on the board, and these teams both like to run when they can. It doesn't really change a lot in my opinion, and I think the under it's probably right about where it should be to me.
Yeah, I've just got it as a messy, slow-paced, grinded-out game on both sides, and when you get that type of game script, as soon as one team gets the lead, they're going to hand it off on first and second down. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see a lot of running back carries tonight.
The Cardinals have won the game. So that's some real quick FanDuel. We spent a lot of time on DraftKings. We'll probably turn this over to you guys for the next, I don't know, let's say 10, 15 minutes, something like that. If you guys have questions, we're here to answer them. If you have any lineup construction techniques, if you want to know about the 4-2s, I guess we can spend on this. Let's talk about this, because in Slate IQ, now I am going, Slate IQ is telling me to never play Lamar Jackson in the captain, and I'm throwing Slate IQ to the side on that one. But I do agree with Slate IQ tonight. The 4-2s look pretty good when you make the Baltimore 4-2. When you have Lamar and Tucker, and you've got one of the running backs or maybe two pass catching options, and you're able to sneak it back with a Burkhead, and either maybe you get a Cam in there or you go Myers or something like that. Those lineups look reasonably good. And you can also play the running back angle too, especially with both quarterbacks in there. You could play one of the quarterbacks in there, and you could play Harris and Dobbins or Ingram, and those lineups look good too when you make the 4-2. That's how I think most of mine ended up tonight. Where did you land?
Yeah, I like the 4-2 a lot as well. And I want both quarterbacks in pretty much every lineup. So then if I think there's going to be a receiver that has any production, I want him in that lineup too. Mm-hmm. But most of them are leaning towards a quarterback and a running back. Even my 2 side of that. So I even think the losing team, there's just going to be so much rushing production that I don't mind playing quarterback, running back from the losing team. Mm-hmm. I mean, with the Patriots, if you're playing Burkhead or White, they're going to get receptions in comeback mode anyway.
So Steve wants to know, does Slate IQ take weather into account? One, I don't run Slate IQ. I don't know exactly what goes into it. I'm going to guess no. What it does is it pulls from other slates of games that are similar in Showdown. So games that had something close to this spread, that had, 2 quarterbacks and maybe not a lot of other good skill positions. It pulls, it's all hit or miss, right? Are you ever going to find something that exactly matches? No. But it sort of pulls from other games that were similar, and it tries to figure out what happened in those games and things like that. Were there weather in some of those? Maybe we wouldn't have a big enough sample size, would be my opinion. So I'm going to guess that it doesn't take weather into account, would be my expectation. But I guess weather is accounted in the over-under and things like that, and that is certainly accounted for in that. So whatever you want to think on that one. Let's see here. A couple other ones. A lot of people are thinking Ravens D as captain tonight. I did not land on that at all, because you need the Ravens D as the captain. They got to hit like 15 or 16. They almost need the touchdown. They need the Patriots to score under 14 and have, 4 sacks with a couple of fumbles or interceptions on that. I think they're fine as a flex play, and I like them as a flex play, but I don't think I'm playing them at the captain spot tonight.
Yeah, I won't either. I mean, you really need a touchdown out of them for that to even come close to optimal, and then even if you get the touchdown, it still might not get there. So.
Yeah. I think we both sort of agree on that one. Mike wants to know, how on earth do you make a lineup on FanDuel? Exactly. I much prefer the DraftKings one. The FanDuel tonight, your first place is going to end up, unless something really strange happens, and you can make some strange lineups. And if it hits, you're probably going to be the only one with it, because everyone's playing Lamar and the captain on FanDuel tonight. Or the MVP, at least on FanDuel. Cody wants to know, is Myers and Bird a bad idea on DraftKings? Because it hasn't been for the, if you would just think looking at the Patriots, what's happened with them over the past couple of weeks, that's worked out reasonably well in a showdown format, but there's some wild cards plus some weather tonight. So how are you handling that?
Yeah, so I would say that those are the two that are going to kind of eat into each other's production. I think Myers has succeeded enough to carve out his role. So I think they're going to be the two that are on the field the least together of the 3, but their price points make it to where I could see both of them having 4 or 5 catches, 40 or 50 yards or whatever, and ending up on the optimal. So if you don't get any rushing touchdowns and one of them scores a touchdown, the other one has 6 for 60, then yeah, I could see a path to both of them getting there.
Yeah, who's going to play like the slot role tonight? Because none of these guys, it's probably going to be Myers is going to be man in the slot a lot of it, right? And they're going to play Harry and Bird on the outside. Would be my
Yeah, I think so, which is a change from what Harry was doing prior to the injury, I believe.
yeah. So I mean, I still like. I guess Harry, like you said, because he's cheaper, and he was still right. If you bring up Harry's old game log, he had a couple of games. 6 targets. The 12 target was an obvious anomaly. That was against Seattle, right? You got to know what happens in those Seattle games. But he can squeak out 6 targets out there tonight, and he's so cheap. Is that going to be what leads New England in targets tonight? It could be, but I still think I'd put Myers as the lead dog in the passing game after he's shown it. But I would probably put Harry second, and Harry's the cheapest, so Harry makes a lot of sense. I'm in agreement with Keith on that.
Yeah, I mean, if neither of them score, there isn't going to be enough separation in their fantasy point production to warrant the huge difference in their price tag.
Let's see. OSU 215. He wants to know, can you play Dobbins and Gus in the same cash game?
At Gus's price, yes.
Yes, and I guess we're probably grasping at straws, but who's going to be, let's pretend that they're up 14 with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Who's going to grind out those fourth quarter carries?
I mean, it's been Gus.
Yeah.
But
you never know. With Ingram coming back, it's probably going to be Gus. If that game script holds true, maybe Dobbins, he catches some passes earlier in the day. I think you can play those. Let's see. A couple people want to know about Mark Andrews. How much of Mark Andrews you got tonight?
Let me see.
I've got more Brown than Andrews.
I do as well, despite the price difference. I'm running about 30% Andrews in the flex versus about 40% Brown. And like I said, that rule you said where you separate them, I really like that. So I don't think I have any lineups. I know I don't because I built a rule for it to only play one of them in the same lineup.
Yep. And speaking of rules here, I guess we can go to, I'll bring up the expert survey. One of the things they do in here is, I got to find it. They go over some rules. Where is that on here? I know I saw it in here.
Second question from the bottom is where it asks specifically. But...
All right, so I'll pull it up for the people. Hottest take. One rule you can program in. So I want to go over these rules. I guess we'll use this for everyone here. So Squirrel Patrol, right? 150s, every single thing, 24/7, all day long on every site. His rule: pairing the wide receivers and tight ends that he used in the captain with the corresponding quarterback. That's his. I think that makes a lot of sense in this game tonight. Chopper wants all Ravens. He wants the one Pats player to be a wide receiver or a kicker. The Chopper is anti-Cam Newton tonight. He has no Cam Newton. What do you think about no Cam Newton tonight?
I think that's dangerous. I mean, he's playing for the Baltimore Onslaught, so I think he's probably building more 5-1s than you and I are. But I mean, I could certainly see a path where that works out for him.
Yep. And yours was you're fading Harris for Burkhead and White, and then you're overweight Edwards for, you expect him to grind out those fourth quarter carries while also being cheap as well. And you're trying to predict running back who's going to get the most touches tonight. It could certainly be Edwards. Not by much, but he could end up getting the most.
Yeah, and his price is playing a huge role in that too. If he scores a fourth quarter touchdown, whether they're ahead and chewing clock, then you're golden. So I mean, I'm going to be way overweight on Edwards for sure.
Yeah, Justin talking about Duvernay, and I think if you're looking for, the fourth option in the Ravens passing game, right? We're digging deep because it's showdown. I think it is Duvernay. I think he's overtaken Boykin. You've seen that if I pull up. On Gridiron IQ, I went over this at the start of the show. But over the past couple of weeks, Duvernay on the season, about a 30% snap rate. But over the past 2 weeks, 48 and 44%. While Miles Boykin, 57% on the season, but 42 and 36% snap rate over the past 2 weeks. So it seems like Duvernay has leapfrogged Miles Boykin. Boykin's just not really showing anything. It was a real athletic pick in the draft. It just hasn't worked out, hasn't translated to NFL on the field performance. And Duvernay, when he's been out there, I think he's been doing all right for a rookie out there in the NFL with a erratic passer, not really getting targeted too much. So I do like Duvernay. He's underpriced. Again, you're hoping. I think you get a little bit. You get he does the kick returns and things like that too, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah. So you get a little bit of extra juice, from him, maybe on a punt return or something like that. But if he got more than 3 targets tonight, I'd be surprised. But between special teams, maybe he gets in the end zone. There's ways he can end up on the optimal a lot easier than I think Miles Boykin can. A couple people. Are you captaining any Ravens running backs? This guy specifically, Mark Ingram at captain. I don't think I can play Mark Ingram in the captain.
No,
he's been nothing all year long.
Yeah, agree. I do have a little bit of Dobbins, maybe 10%, I think, just because he's looked really good. He's the young rookie he's been impressive in the last couple weeks with Ingram out. So I'm playing a few lineups where they might just give the backfield to Dobbins for the early part of the game, and I see a path to him scoring a touchdown or 2.
Yeah, you can see we saw it with like the Lions today, where as the season progresses, they get more comfortable with the rookies because they just realize, you're sitting there and you're Matt and Patricia, and you're like, is Adrian Peterson sucks and Kerryon Johnson sucks. Why? And DeAndre Swift, let's see if he's any good. And guess what? He is. He had himself a great game. Maybe that transition, maybe Dobbins does continue to hold, and he's a really good play tonight. I feel like I don't know. I don't feel like Harbaugh is going to be the guy that's going to be like, go Dobbins for 80% of the snaps tonight, and Mark Ingram, I know you're back, but you're not going to play tonight, right? Like, that's not going to be Jim Harbaugh, in my opinion. I think it's going to basically go back to how it was.
Yeah, I think your Swift example was a perfect description of how I'm playing it tonight. I mean, you're probably right. Harbaugh has always kind of run out of split backfield, but I think if they do it, it's going to be Dobbins over Ingram that gets the bulk of the work. So that's why I have Dobbins in the captain and 0 Ingram in the captain.
Yeah, all right. If you guys got any more questions, fire them off. After the next set comes in the next 3 or 4 minutes, we're probably going to call it a day. We're going to go finish making our lineups, and I got to go count the sportsbook money on that Arizona. Well, what a catch by DeAndre Hopkins, and then Kyler Murray getting that off at the end, just insane. Kyler Murray, were you watching Red Zone? I thought it was a good description of Kyler Murray, where he's literally a punt returner as at the quarterback position, because he's like unstoppable, and so
yeah,
the quickness, because he's so much lighter and smaller, but he's very athletic. It's just it's not even Vic didn't even have the kind of stuff he's throwing out there right now.
Right. Yeah, he looks like Jakeem Grant out there running around.
Yeah, but Jakeem Grant made my day today, so we can't make fun of Jakeem Grant out there.
No, I was saying as a good thing, just his shiftiness and quickness.
In the streets. All right, a couple more coming in. On top of it, want to know Bird at captain. Like if you're playing like some weird, like trying to be unique. Is that a bad way to be unique tonight? I think you could probably make worse unique lineups.
It's not something that I did, but the path to that working out is Bird catches a long touchdown, and it's a low-scoring game outside of that. I mean, it certainly could work. I'm not seeing the need to pay up for a ton of people, so I'm not playing many cheap captains. I'm going to hope that Lamar or Cam or Marquise Brown, just one of them goes off, and then I'm going to fill in my flex positions with the skill players that I think, and the kickers and defense too, that I think can just outscore all the other guys and then just get there that way.
Mark wants to know, will it be a blowout? I do like the Ravens to win this pretty handedly tonight. I guess the players are always going to try to win on the field, but I think Belichick is somehow coaching in a way to not be optimal anymore.
Yeah, right? I agree. Baltimore wants to win. They're a playoff team. New England doesn't really care either way. If he's looking at it like if we lose, it just improves our draft position. I agree.
Marcus wants to know, will the rain be an issue tonight? So the weather report, you can go to the weather page on Rotogrinders that Roth put up, but it's going to be the field's already wet right now, and then as the game progresses, especially in the second half, is when it gets really sloppy, a wet field. There's going to be some wind. So as the game gets worse, right? If it's 7-0 in halftime, it could be a 10-3 game when it's all over, right? There could not be a lot of scoring in that second half. Really slippery ball. But then again, there's, because Lamar Jackson's so shifty, will the defenders fall down in front of him? I mean, there's some weird things that can happen in bad weather. So I do expect the weather to play a part, probably more in let's say the Packers game today, where slight, had a slight impact, not so much like the Browns game where, you just expect a 10-0 game from the start or something like that.
Yeah, so I'll say I picked the under before I even looked at the weather. So I liked the under.
Yeah, I think the over was a little higher when it opened, but the after those games a couple weeks ago, the weather under people really slammed those down quite a bit. I think that's going to about do it for tonight's show. Again, you can catch some version of the Showdown show every Sunday, whether it's me or Blender. Keith, I think you're on pretty much all of them, aren't you?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so Keith's on them. We're here every Sunday before the game. There's a millionaire maker on DraftKings tonight, right? You can win $1 million on Showdown. No, someone could win it on their own. Probably got to split it with a couple of people, but I like that tournament, and that's what I would be suggesting to go play over on DraftKings tonight. For everybody watching, big thanks for watching. We appreciate it here at Rotogrinders. And for Keith, I'm Britt. Thanks to everybody for watching, and we out you tonight.